Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Hong Kong and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel quite a few times before. So I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last year or so, quite a few different styles, and if people were to ask me about this brewery, I would say that they are just pretty solid all round. I've had IPAs, I've had sours, I've had darker beers from them, and they've always been pretty damn solid actually. But the beer we're going to have a look at today is one of their latest releases. It's a style that I have had from this brewery before, although kind of not in its raw form if memory serves me correctly, but it is one that I know they can do pretty well, and I've heard very good things about this beer as well. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we're going to head a little bit to the kind of east of me here in Kowloon over to a district called Sampo Kong, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Deadman Brewery. So this particular beer is called Angel in Hell. It comes in at 11% ABV, and from what I understand, this is the strongest beer they've ever brewed, but it is a New England Hazy Imperial Triple, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So yeah, very recent release at the time of filming. They also released the Devil in Hell, which is the lowest ABV beer they've ever produced apparently, so I'll need to see about getting a can of that one to review for you at some stage soon as well. But yeah, this is the one that caught my eye, of course, because it is the kind of stronger one. So yeah, this should be really interesting. Let's crack on and see what this beer is going to have in store for us. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Deadman Brewery so far, and we will be reviewing more from these guys as time goes on, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Hong Kong playlist, along with a number of other things. That's being added to quite regularly, of course, since I am based here in Hong Kong now. And there's some really good beers here, but do make sure you check out those other playlists because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Deadman Brewery once again then. So, Deadman Brewery, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in the Sampo Kong area of Kowloon here in the Hong Kong SAR, and the brewery was founded back in 2018 by Jerry Ko and Sherman Chan. These guys are both Hong Kongers, and they were old school friends that used to play basketball together very often. So Sherman had a sports bar in Kwun Tong, or still has I should say, a sports bar in the Kwun Tong area called The Stadium, and he discovered craft beer through the salespeople that were supplying him for the bar, and he was looking for more interesting beers to serve there, and he started to look more down this kind of craft beer route and see what was available. But Jerry was apparently exposed to craft beer while in Canada studying veterinary science, and this prompted him to actually start homebrewing, which he used to do on his rooftop. But he then bumped into an old friend on a tour of Lion Brewery who was interested in starting his own brewery, and things really went from there, and it turned out that this friend was Sherman. So the brewery is apparently named Deadman because everyone in Hong Kong is, as they put it, a dead man walking and working their arses off basically. But this plays into the brewery's skull symbol and zombie artwork, which I think is very nice. And the first beer that they produced was the Dirty Pale Ale, and this was released back in 2018. But the current head brewer of Deadman Brewery is Jason Lee. Jason studied chemical engineering at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and apparently during this course he took a trip to a brewery in mainland China, and it was this that inspired him to become a brewer. So when he got home, he googled beer in Hong Kong, and Munzen appeared, and so he joined them as a brewing intern in the summer of 2017. But he later went on to work for Young Master, where he started in the packaging line, and then he worked his way up to senior brewer. But he also started a brand called OCBD Beer, in 2020 with his friend Chung Ka Ming, and then he joined Deadman as their head brewer in July of 2020. But in the brewery itself, they operate a 500 litre Chinese brew kit, and they currently produce around 6,000 litres per month, which translates to a little over 70,000 litres of beer per year. The beers were originally released in bottles, but they switched to cans in 2020 after purchasing an American canning line, and apparently they are planning to open up their own brewery, their own tap room or own bar somewhere at some point in the fairly near future. But over the years, they've continued to develop new recipes and expand the brewery fermentation capacity and build up their sales. And the main man in that regard is Ashwan Prabhu, who is locally known as Deadman Ash. You'll see him in my out and about video that I did at Deadman Brewery. But the Deadman artwork is apparently the brainchild of Jerry, and then the brewery workers have a few beers together to brainstorm the name of the new beer that they produce, and then the final sketch of this artwork is passed on to a professional ghost artist who adds colour and finishes the idea before the beer is released. But as of September 2024, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 70 different kinds of beer according to Untappd. And like I said to you, these guys are pretty solid all round actually. I've had quite a few IPAs from them that have always been pretty good. The smoothie sours are really good as well, and I do need to explore the darker stuff a little bit more. But yeah, the dark things that I have tried have been pretty nice as well. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Deadman Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, that's that. So let's go on and have a wee look at the beer itself. Yeah. So like I said to you, this one's getting a wee bit sweaty. It's getting warm in here again. But yeah. This one, at the time of filming, is one of their latest releases. Like I said, it's called the Angel in Hell, an 11% New England Hazy, Imperial Triple, whatever you want to call it, IPA. Plain silver top on the can, of course, but this was released along with the Devil in Hell, which is a session IPA, the lowest ABV beer they've ever produced. So I'll need to have a wee look at that, I think, as well. Don't review all that many low ABV beers on the channel these days, just because of the price of beer in Hong Kong. It makes it more sensible to drink the heavier things, of course. But yeah, this is really nicely presented once again for me. I love the artwork on this one. That's kind of what my apartment is going to be like over the next few months, with guitars and drums and stuff coming in. So yeah, I do like that one. But yeah, Angel in Hell, the strongest beer they've apparently ever produced. So let's get it out into the glass then and see what it's all about. I'm very curious about this. It says on the sides here, indulge in this heavy hazy IPA bursting with bold flavours of mango, grapefruit, passion fruit, strawberries and pineapple. Its thick, luscious body delivers a juicy, satisfying experience that is best paired with macaroni and cheese. Assholes have made me hungry now. Yeah. But yeah, good. That's the only thing I need to tell Ash about his marketing, not to make me hungry when I'm doing beer reviews. It's annoying. Yeah. Anyway, let's do it. Here we go. This looks good. Yeah, that looks very nice actually. So, in terms of appearance, regarding what you'd expect from a New England IPA of any description, yeah, this is pretty much in line. So you can see it's poured with maybe about you can see that it's poured with maybe about a half finger of a frothy, I would say, kind of cream coloured head. Smaller bubbles on the surface of the liquid, but you can see it gets a little bit more kind of bubbly and soapy the further up that you go. But in terms of the colour of this beer, this is pretty nice. So to me it resembles mango juice, to be honest with you. I always like comparing the appearance of the New England IPAs to different fruit juices. That's really just what they remind me of. But yeah, the colour of these beers, of course, remember, generally speaking, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. And yeah, you don't really have to care about that all that much when it comes to different kinds of IPAs, because it's not really that common to barrel age an IPA. But yeah, you can see the head on this one has just faded away to be a kind of thinner, more foamy layer, and you've got that ring just around the edge of the glass. But if we shine the light through this one, I'd say that the haze, for an 11%, or the haze on this one isn't all that big, to be honest with you. It's certainly not the soupiest and gloopiest of New England IPAs that I've come across. But remember, the level of haze in these beers depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. That varies from beer to beer, brewery to brewery, and so on. But yeah, for an 11%er, certainly not the soupiest and gloopiest of New England's that I've come across before. Not that much in the way of visible carbonation with this one either, but yeah, thinking about it, the Deadman beers aren't really so heavy on carbonation normally. They're usually very smooth in their mouthfeel in my experience. But yeah, it's good. Looks nice, this one, and as I say, pretty much what you would expect from the New England style. So I don't think we really need to say all that much more about the appearance of this beer, so let's go on and have a wee look at the aroma then. I'm very, very curious about this, so let's do it. That smells really nice. That's lovely. There's something very familiar about this. Yeah. The first thing you're going to notice about this beer, it's very, very smooth in its malty backbone, but it's very oily in its fruity character, and that makes me think New Zealand hops. But at the same time, the strawberry thing that's in here, I want to say there's strata in this. There's just something distinctive about this beer. That, you know, they're talking about strawberries, and I can absolutely get that. I want to say there's strata. The other thing that it could be would be Enigma, because Enigma would give you the oiliness, and it would give you that wee bit of kind of strawberry character there. But yeah, the aroma of this beer, very oily in its fruity notes, which makes me think New Zealand hops. The malty backbone's nice, and the green component of this one's very very nice as well. So yeah, let's just break down the aroma of this beer and see what it's all about. But it's great, I will say that. It's a kind of everything you'd expect. So, as I've often said in my Hazy IPA reviews, for me there are 6 different ways the kind of malty, or 6 different elements of the malty and yeasty side of the beer. You've got the kind of farmhousey yeasty side of things and the rye leaning grainy side. Those are a bit more common in the New England brewed New England IPAs, because the style really started out as a farmhouse IPA, but then you've also got wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things. And that's more along the lines of how this style has evolved as time has gone on and it's moved across the world. For me, this one, it seems that it's kind of well balanced with the kind of trinity, the wheat, the oats, and the barley malt. You know, that's kind of what you're getting with this one. But yeah, it has a little touch of wheat. It is maybe leaning very slightly toward the wheaty side of things, but I'm getting quite a bit of oat out of it and quite a little bit of the barley malt. But generally speaking, it's a really nice aroma out of this one. Yeah, that is good. Yeah, got a little bit of a sniffle there. Hope that's not going to take over my nose. But yeah, aroma-wise, this is lovely. So, the backbone of this beer, you've got a lovely kind of fresh, white bready bread crust coming out of this one. Which is great. You always get that lovely kind of fresh hedgehog roll type thing. Tiny little bit of wood, little bit of Jacob's cream cracker, very standard backbone to the beer. So yeah, really, really like how that goes together. Yeah. So lovely kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. Little bit of a little bit of woody character in there. Some nice Jacob's cream cracker. On top of that, there's a little tiny hint of brown bread in there, but not all that much. The bready character in this one is absolutely like fresh, fluffy white bread. And it almost has just a little bit of sweetness to it. This beer is very, very fresh. You can almost smell the wetness of the mash tun in this one. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, lovely kind of fresh, fluffy, slightly wet white bread in there. You can smell a little bit of the wheat as well, I think. Like at the back of the nose, there's a very slight wheaty bitiness in there. But you have to remember with wheat and oats, it depends really where they're from. You know, European oats are very, very creamy. The North American oats are a bit more kind of porridgey. European wheat is a bit more bitey. North American wheat is a little bit kind of smoother, I would say. So yeah, there is a wee bit of kind of wheaty bitiness at the back of the nose there, but you're still getting some of the kind of more dense, smooth white bread, which is your wheat as well. Little bit of oatiness to this one. I think the more that you smell of this, I think the more oatiness you're getting out of it, and the oats actually show you a little bit of sweetness, and it's kind of like a creamy sweetness, which I really do enjoy. So yeah, the way that this goes together, I think, is really nice. So yeah, lovely kind of smooth, lovely kind of oaty creaminess to this beer. And it's showing you a little touch of dryness. As I've often said, when it comes to New England IPAs, the oatiness is normally a kind of rough indicator of how fresh your IPA is. Essentially, the creamier the oats taste and smell, the fresher the beer is. The drier they taste and smell, the older the beer is. But this one, very, very fresh, lovely kind of creamy notes, but you are getting a little touch of dryness out of it, which is nice, because it just gives it a wee bit of sweetness. But there's a little touch of like Werther's Original Butter Candy Butterscotch in this one, which is to be expected at 11% in a New England Hazy. You will get that little bit of sweetness. Little smattering of biscuit in this one. And at the back of the nose, the yeasty character is kind of white bready, maybe very slightly crackery as well. So yeah, the way that goes together in this beer, I think, is really, really nice. So, don't know if there's anything else we really need to say about the malty and yeasty side of the beer. Let's go to the hoppy side of things. So, for me, the hoppy side of this beer is the green component is really nice. So remember, with your IPAs, there are 3 types of hoppings that you can do. You can do early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you quite a deep, dank green component, and that's responsible for the majority of your bitterness. You've got late addition hopping, which takes place within the last half hour of the wort boil, gives you a wee bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, and it's going to give you a very bright green component as well. Then you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete. That's all about flavour and aroma, no bitterness, and it's going to give you, again, a very bright green component. West Coast IPAs use all 3, which is why they're deeper, danker, and more bitter. New England hazy IPAs tend to rely on late addition and dry hopping, which is why they're brighter and more, which is why they're kind of brighter and more fruity in a sense, if you like. Well, not more fruity, but more soft, if you like. So yeah, with this beer, the green component in this one, you can smell there's a teeny tiny little bit of earthiness in there, but that's very minimal. Maybe a slight woodiness. But yeah, lovely bright floral aromaticity. Good little bit of grassy, zesty character coming out of this one. So yeah, grassy zestiness to the beer and a nice big floral aromaticity. So yeah, the way that this one goes together, I think, is really, really nice. Yeah, the way that goes is the way that the green component goes together is kind of to be expected. There's nothing that surprising about it, but I think the more you smell of it, the more it's kind of like a leafy, grassy sort of character. But yeah, so we look at the fruity side of things. Yeah. For me, I mean, on the can here, they're saying, they're talking about the flavours, not the aromas. I was going to say, if that was the aromas, I would disagree with that a little bit, because the fruity side of this beer is actually quite soft and quite oily, like I said. So for me, there's a lot of, like, I do get the pineapple. There's a lot of, like, soft, oily pineapple in there, little bits of apricot and stuff, maybe some juicier mango and soft passion fruit. You know, these tropical notes are all there. I definitely get the strawberry note out of this one, and that's it's going to be Strata, potentially Enigma, but Enigma's more of a kind of red curranty note, and you get all that gooseberry character out of it. So yeah, the beer with this one, the fruity side of this one is very, very nice. So yeah, I like that about this. I like that about this beer. The fruity side of it is very, very nice. Um, mhm. Yeah, the way this one goes together is really, really nice. So it gets a big thumbs up from me. Yeah, I do like that about this one for sure. The fruity, the whole aroma of this beer is very, very nice. Really slightly more smooth and oily New England hazy, but very soft in its malty character. I think this is going to be pretty good actually. I'm very, very curious about this one. Let me just try and see if I put that light down one more thing. Yeah, you get a better view of the can. There we go. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we go, because the aroma is lovely. The Angel in Hell, a New England hazy Imperial Triple, whatever you want to call it, IPA, 11% ABV from Deadman Brewery in Sampo Kong, Kowloon, Hong Kong. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Ooh, that's pretty damn good. Very soft. New England IPA. It's like, in some ways, this is interesting because it's quite light and drinkable in its feel. But obviously, you know, this is 11%. So it does have a little bit of a kick to it actually. This is a really interesting one, but I will say straight away, another really, really good beer, and Deadman are doing some really good stuff just now for sure. Oh yeah, that's nice. That is good. So I'm going to say to them straight away, big thumbs up. When I taste this one, I am wondering if maybe I should have let it sit for another week or something, because it's very fresh. You can feel there's still a little there is a little touch of like hot burn to this one, so maybe it's maybe just slightly too fresh. You can feel a little bit of that on the edges of your palate, but still doesn't affect the beer too much. But I think if I gave this another like week or two in the can, it would be like pretty much, that's probably when it's going to be in its prime in my mind. That's one of the things you do have to watch for with New England hazies, is that they you know, I think it's best to let these just sit for a little bit, whereas the West Coast IPAs you can really drink very fresh because the more oily mouthfeel and stuff covers that up a little bit, and the higher bitterness too sort of compensates. But yeah, I will say this is a really good quality beer once again from Deadman, and I'm not surprised about that. They have been doing a lot of good stuff. Yeah, so let's just do as we always do. We'll break it down and describe the flavour more in depth for you. We'll start on that middle third of the palate. So yeah. So yeah, backbone of this beer, it is of course that kind of fresh. It is that kind of fresh, white bready, bread crusty sort of thing. So yeah, the fresh white bready bread crust that's in there is great. As you move further forward on that, it's like a hedgehog roll type thing. As you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, there is that little hint of woodiness. I always get a wee hint of woodiness on the toward the front of the middle third of the palate there, and then you get that nice Jacob's cream crackery type note coming out of this one too, which I really enjoy. So yeah, that's nice in this one. Yeah, on the yeah, on top of that kind of cream crackery sort of thing, for me, there's a good little bit of yeah, there's a nice little bit of kind of brown bready character in the base there, so you can feel that layer of like more grainy brown bready character. Then above that you can get like a kind of fluffier and lighter white bready note, and then above that one you get the more dense wheaty character out of the beer, and the wheat actually has a little bit more bite further back on that middle 30 palate, but it kind of mellows out and smoothens up and smoothens out, I guess you could say, further forward on the palate there, so that's nice. So yeah, the on top of the wheat and the more dense, on top of the wheat and the more dense character on this one, you have that oaty note there. So you've got like down the middle line of your palate, you can feel it's got that nice kind of creamy oaty character there, and as you move out toward the edges of your palate, it does show you a little bit more dryness. Actually, it does show you that little bit more dry character. And in the dead center of your palate, you can feel that little circle there. You can feel that little circle in the middle of your palate, and it's got that Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. And that's yeah, that is your alcohol, of course. That little Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotch circle is your alcohol. But surrounding that, there's a little bit of a kind of biscuity character as well, which is really nice. So yeah, the way that that goes together in this one, I think, is really, really nice. That gets a big thumbs up from me. The malty side of this beer is nicely done. It maybe could do with just a slightly thicker body to it, maybe a little bit more oat or something, just to thicken it up. It could do with just being that little touch thicker. But again, it might just be because it's very, very fresh. You never know. But yeah, that covers the middle third of the palate. Then let's go to the back third of the palate. So I've often said sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. But yeah, the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. So you've got the brown bread in the base, the white bread in the middle, and the more wheaty character on top. And the base of that back third of your palate, yeah, it's that hedgehog white bready character again. You've got the cracker in there, then you've got the brown bready layer, which is a little bit lighter, taller, more airy. Then you've got the white bread above that, which again is a little bit lighter, taller, and more airy. And then above that, you've got a more wheaty, yeah, you've got that more wheaty character in there, which is a lot more kind of bitey, I would say. So yeah, you've got that more kind of bitey, wheaty note on top of all of that there too. And then it's the yeasty character, which is nice. So let's look at the yeasty side of things. Yeah. So the yeasty side of things for me, at its core, it's got a little bit more of a kind of grainy brown bread to it, but then it's surrounded by like a more wheaty, a more dense wheaty white bread. Then the very edge of it is a little bit more kind of, yeah, it's a little bit more sort of crackery and yeah, a little bit, yeah, definitely a little bit more sort of crackery and things. So that's really interesting. Yeah, I like that. So yeah, you've got that more kind of crackery and bready sort of character around the edge of it. So yeah, it's really nice, and that's yeah, it is really, really nice in that sense. The yeasty character kind of lingers there into the aftertaste, and of course you've got the wheaty bitiness too. But definitely, yeah, the back third of your palate, the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together a little bit more. Yeah, so let's look at the hoppy side of things then. As I say, the malty character of this one's quite nice, and the further into the aftertaste you go, I think this beer does get a little bit more wheaty leaning. But let's look at the hoppy side of things. Back corners of the palate, there's a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it's got a little bit of woodiness, and then yeah, as you go further forward, it's a little bit more grapefruity. No, sorry, not a bit more grapefruity, a bit more pine resin. I'm thinking, the reason I'm saying grapefruit, I'm thinking Chinook and Columbus in this one. So yeah, you've got the earthiness, a little bit of woodiness, and then you get this kind of pine resiny character. But as you move further forward, the floral aromatic spice comes out of this one a little bit more, and as I say, it reminds me of Columbus a little bit. But again, this beer is very young, and with it being New England, it might be a little touch of hot burn until the thing mellows out. But yeah, around the front curve of the tongue, the beer's that little bit lighter and a little bit more kind of grassy and zesty. And then above that, of course, you've got the fruity notes there. So I think that covers the green component. Border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. You've got the brown bread in the base, the white bread on top of it, then the kind of wheaty notes in there. But the base of that, the base of that front third of your palate, you can feel the brown bread. You can feel that kind of brown bready bread crust in there. You've got that, it's more of the white bready bread crust. Then you've got the cracker, I think. The brown bread, I think, is quite prominent there. Then white bread, and the kind of wheaty layer comes forward. Smoother side of the wheat. Then you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy, fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So let's have a wee look at that. The fruity side of things for me then, let's have a wee look. I can see in the flavour why they say there's a little bit of grapefruit in this one. I think there's a bit of Chinook in this. That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I want to say there's a wee bit of Chinook in here. Because at the back, the pine resin and then the grapefruit, you've got a little bit of that grapefruit at the very back of that front third of your palate. But when you move further forward on this one, I don't think it's Citra. Citra could give you all of these things. But yeah, when you move further forward from that, you get a little touch of peach. Galaxy could be a shout. But you get a little touch of peach. Nice kind of juicy mango. Then underneath that, some passion fruit. And as you reach the middle of that front third of your palate, it's as you reach the middle of that front third of your palate, it's more along the lines of like apricot and a bit of pineapple on top of it. So yeah, grapefruit, peach, mango, passion fruit, and then apricot and pineapple. And as you go into the front half of that front third of your palate, you do get this more oily kind of gooseberry, maybe melony type thing. And then I can see why they say strawberry. That sits on top of the front half of that front third of your palate. It could well be the power of suggestion, right enough. But Enigma hop from Australia could do that, because it has got that wee bit of gooseberry character. But Strata would be the obvious candidate when they're talking specifically about strawberries. I can definitely see that. But you do get that wee bit of grassy zestiness on the front tip of your tongue too. It's really interesting beer, this one. But I think that covers everything we need to say about the flavour. Actually, it's a really nicely done New England triple. Maybe could just do with a slightly bigger body, a slightly heavier body almost. And on that note, I think we should go on to the mouthfeel. So for me, this beer, I'd describe it as mid-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth, and like I say, it's quite light and drinkable. It's got a wee bit of dryness into the aftertaste too, this beer. What would we say about the IBU? It is very low in terms of its IBU. I think they're using a bit of cryo or something in this, because the green component into the aftertaste gets very, very smooth. So I think they've got pellets for some of the hops and then cryo for some of the others. Galaxy is one I know you can cryo, so yeah, that would make sense. But yeah, I think the IBU into the aftertaste is maybe about 40-ish, although 30, I think, it feels a little bit heavy for 30, maybe 40 would be about right with this one. But the malt, as we said, there's a bit of dryness underneath, the smoothness in the middle, and a very, very slight sweetness on top. The fruity side of things, it's a really the fruity side of things for me, it's got a really nice juicy fruity character to this one, mainly tropical, but into the aftertaste you get a wee bit of oiliness out of it as well. But all in all, I think a really, really nice New England triple IPA. It is for its mouth. I think for one that's quite as heavy as this, it maybe just needs that little touch more body to it, and then it's right on the money. But still, a very, very good quality beer from Deadman Brewing, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. But I think we can leave it at that for this one. This one was the Angel in Hell, an 11% New England Hazy Imperial Triple IPA from the wonderful Deadman Brewery in Sample Kong, Kowloon, here in Hong Kong. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Deadman Brewery as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until then, Slàinte, Skål, cheers, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Check out my social media and check out Deadman's social media as well.